Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
We knew about COVID-19. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue received classified briefings about the virus. And what did they do next? They downplayed the risks, then invested in body bags. 10 months later, over 10,000 Georgians dead. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, dead wrong.
So that's what Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue did with the information that they had about COVID and its, extreme infectiousness. They bought body bags, and it's a good thing they invested in body bags. It's a good thing they did because California just ordered 5,000 of them and about 60 refrigerated trucks. You know, yesterday we had 3,656 people die of COVID. That is more than 9/11. Almost 4,000 dead Americans in a 24-hour period yesterday. And lo and behold, we find out that that is what the Trump administration was trying to do all along. The Trump administration, I mean, we sort of had circumstantial evidence by believing our own eyes that he was doing super spreader events across this country, inviting people to come and not wear masks and be packed into, indoor spaces over and over and over and over and over again. The whole Sturgis motorcycle rally with these old bikers being allowed into bars without masks, and all of this encouragement of going maskless and telling people just go out and do your thing. It was all so that they could develop herd immunity in this country, something that is akin to mass murder. That's what herd immunity is. And we know that because you have infectious disease experts like Dr. Hazeltine, who told us this months ago.
I'm extremely concerned that the president is being advised by people who speak of herd immunity. Herd immunity is another word for mass murder. That is exactly what it is. If you allow this virus to spread, as they are advocating, we are looking at 2 to 6 million Americans dead, not just this year, but every year. The reason for that is that there is no such thing as herd immunity. These viruses, coronaviruses, come back year after year and infect the very same people. We know that from very detailed studies of the viruses, their cousins, the coronaviruses that cause colds. Every year they come back and infect the same people, the same virus. This is an unmitigated disaster for our country to have people at the highest levels of our government countermanding our best public health officials. We know this epidemic can be put under control. Other countries have done it. We are doing the opposite.
Exactly. And that's an older clip. Okay. That's one of those that you save so that when it's all over, you can, look back and see who committed mass murder. Obviously, the Trump administration, they are involved in mass murder. They do have Sheeple. They do have Sheeple in their death cult who are willing to go to the slaughterhouse for them. But the most amazing thing happened yesterday. The House has a subcommittee headed by Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. It is a coronavirus subcommittee to look at, monitor, and get information on the coronavirus crisis ongoing. And yesterday, the Clyburn subcommittee in the House was able to get emails. It's always emails. And the emails came from the people that Donald Trump inserted into Health and Human Services. Now, you got to remember that back in the day when this was first starting and Donald Trump didn't want the numbers out there, didn't want testing because testing would actually show who had COVID so that they could isolate for a couple of weeks, so that they could get tested on the back end and be free of COVID when they re-entered our society, right? He didn't want the testing. He turned down testing from the World Health Organization when our test failed, on and on it goes, right? So what did Donald Trump do? He inserted some part-time professor from Canada and Dr. Scott Atlas, who he saw on the TV on the Fox News, who was advocating, now we know for him, for herd immunity, who was saying, just go about your business, just get the damn disease, get it over with, whatever, or saying that the disease didn't even exist. It was a hoax so that people would unwittingly expose themselves, get sick and die, or get sick and have long haul symptoms, or get sick and recover. Those were the three options, but they weren't told that those were the options for them. They were told it wasn't real. They were told it would go away. They were told hydroxychloroquine. They were told UV light. They were told drink bleach. They were told a whole host of things that were all false and fake. But Donald Trump saw Scott Atlas on the TV on that news station, and he decided that he would hire him, and he would ask around for somebody who could, make the case for herd immunity on the sly. And he found this part-time professor from Canada named Dr. Paul Alexander, and installed him at Health and Human Services. This advisor, Paul Alexander, strategized with other top officials at HHS. And one of the things they came up with early on was to take the CDC out of the numbers game. Remember that? When cases were supposed to be reported to the Center for Disease Control, he didn't like that. They were too transparent. So he said, you know what? We're cutting CDC out, and we're now going to have Health and Human Services take the numbers and disperse them. Well, that's because he put cronies into HHS, and the numbers that we've been getting, especially here in Florida, have big gaps in them. Big gaps, like no reporting for days on end, no reporting at all. And then information dumps, like from Ron DeSantis, Ron death sentence, our governor here, big data dumps from 2 months ago in response to Freedom of Information Act lawsuits. Oh, I mean, it's a mess. So you've got these pro-death people, these people that just actually wrote, but what we have now are emails that say and let me tell you something about these emails. This man, Paul Alexander, cannot spell. He can't make a sentence. He doesn't even understand the words he uses. It's so unbelievable. He writes things like on July 3rd. So the bottom line is, if it is more infectiousness, what the hell? If it's more infectiousness now, the issue is, who cares? If it is causing more cases in young, my word is, who cares? As long as we make sensible decisions and protect the elderly, ELDERELY, the elderly, and nursing homes, we must go on with life. ... Who cares? The next day, he writes another email, quote, there is no other way. We need to establish herd, and it only comes about allowing the non-high risk groups expose themselves to the virus, period. In all caps, period. So that's why we have 4,000 dead in a 24-hour period in this country. You know, the next few months are going to be so freaking traumatic that by the time some people finally get this vaccine, they're going to need to have their memories wiped out so that they can have the last few months erased. I'm telling you, we're all going to need to eat mushrooms and have some, psychedelic experience to wipe this away. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.